Welcome to the Transform Your Wealth and Health podcast, where experts in wealth, health, and fitness help transform your life. Here's your host, Andy Arter.
Today's guest is a super landlord, best-selling author, and property sourcing expert. It's Arsh Elahi. Arsh, how are we doing?
Hi, Andy. How are you?
I'm absolutely fine, Arsh. Not as good as you, obviously, because you've been super successful over the years, absolutely crushing everything you do. So I wanted you on the podcast to tell us a little bit about it. I know not all of the times have been good, and I wanted your full story. So give us a little bit of the background, Arsh.
Okay, well, thanks for the fabulous introduction, should I say, Andy. It's not always as glamorous as people make out. I'm an Amazon bestseller of a book called Boom, Bust and Back Again. As the title suggests, it's never always been an easy journey. I've seen some fantastic times. I've seen some real low times. And the good thing is that I'm actually back to tell the tale, which is the most important part.
Yeah.
People who can see good times, go through some really tough times, and then as a result, never bounce back for it. So that kind of gives you a bit of an indication to the kind of resilience. So who is Arsh Elahi? So basically, I'm based in Wolverhampton. I've been Wolverhampton born and bred. The only time that I've ever really left Wolverhampton was when I went to university. I studied in Cheltenham at the University of Gloucestershire. So I did a degree in international business and international marketing management, which is nothing property related. And after I left university, you could say that I had a bit of a head start, depending on how you look at it. Well, my parents were part-time. I wouldn't call them property investors, so to speak, but depending on, again, how you look at it. Yeah. Part-time or landladies. So my dad's real main passion was, he was a precision engineer. So we used to manufacture parts for earth movers, forklifts. One of the main contracts that we had was with Caterpillar.
Oh, yeah.
He was, from a very young age, he knew nothing other than to become an engineer. Originated from Pakistan, came over in the late 50s, and slowly but surely built himself up to having a very small manufacturing company in the heart of the Black Country. Mm-hmm. So the profits that he would make from the engineering company, he would slowly but surely buy a couple of houses and would rent them out. And so with the combination of the profits from the engineering company and the cash flow from the small portfolio of properties, you could say that it gave me a bit of a platform to start with. By no means a silver spoon in my mouth. And the reason why I say that is that if I give you a background as to my childhood, it was not a deprived childhood, but it was a very hard-working childhood, whereas other children would get the opportunity to go and play football on the weekends or go and their school clubs and go and play with their friends. Typical weekend for me would be at 7 o'clock. I would be out of my bed by 6 o'clock from pretty much the age of 4. From the moment that we could pretty much walk.
Wow.
From 6 o'clock in the morning, I'll be out of bed. By 7 o'clock, I would be at the manufacturing or the engineering company. And so on the weekends, I would help my father clean up the workshop. So all the saw and all the steel and all the rubbish that they'd accumulated during the week. And he was a one-man band. So he used to do pretty much everything from the lathes to the saws to the milling to the boring. So I've got a very good education. I've got a very good, let's say, hands-on background. So every weekend, Saturday and Sunday, without fail, rain, sleet or shine, regardless whether I was ill or not, I would be at that engineering company.
Wow.
So between 7 and 1, Saturday and Sunday, I would be there. So give me a rough indication of what my childhood was like. So Monday to Friday, I'd go to school, finish school at roughly around 4 o'clock, and come home. And then I'd get sit for literally half an hour. And then from 5 till 7, I would then have to go to mosque or Muslim school, depending on what you want to call it. I'd come home about 7:30. I'd have dinner. And then from there, I would then either have to help my father at his engineering company, or I would then have to do my homework. So they were my options. There was really never a moment to sit down and either play as a normal child would. It was always very much, you're going to be doing something.
Yeah. Do you think that's helped you today? Because obviously the work ethic back in the younger days.
Exactly. Without a doubt, because the work ethic that I've got today would outwork majority, if not all, of people. You know, I've seen, you know, from a very early age, I've known nothing other than 18-hour days.
Wow.
Starting at 8 o'clock in the morning, going straight out, you know, or a minimum 12-hour day, going straight out into full 12-hour days without, you know, breaks or anything like that. So I've known nothing other than hard work from day one. So I've seen my father work extremely hard. I've seen my mother work extremely hard. And they built that ethic into me. So literally on weekends, on Saturday mornings, I would literally be at the engineering company. Saturday afternoons, I'd be at the properties. Saturday evenings, I'd be dragged around the shops with my mum and dad. So it was literally, you had no time. Yeah, we literally had no time to sit and relax.
Yeah, sure. So where did things go on from there?
I did my GCSEs, so I went to secondary school, did my GCSEs, and I was one of these kids that I was an academic, should I say. I'm the kind of person that, and I'm not a big reader. Now, I know lots of people say, you've got to read this, you've got to read that. I could probably read the same page 3 or 4 times, and it still would not have sunk in. So I struggle to read books. I also probably struggle to listen to audios as well. So I'm not, I don't know, I've looked at different methods and techniques as to what really works for me. And my method of success is just to go out there and do it. All everything that I've achieved, I've done as a result of literally stop talking about it, stop reading about it, just go off and do it, and we'll learn way. Now, I know that that's probably not the best advice for someone listening to this and completely brand new to it. But there's no better way of learning about it, or there's no better way of knowing about the subject unless you're actually physically doing it. I could spend months or years reading about stuff and still not doing it. And I suppose that comes from my parents. They said, you know what, to be fair, if you want it, you've got to go out and earn it.
Yeah, sure. So your father, I believe I've read in the past, did he have some issues with his companies and you decided to do it in a different way later on? Yeah,
so moving on. So I did my GCSEs, then I went to university. I went to university in Cheltenham. So I went to University of Gloucestershire, did my international business management degree. And then after I finished university, my dad sat me down and he goes, okay, so we're degree educated now, what do you want to do? And to be fair, I had a bit of an ear for music. When I say ear for music, I'd pretty much DJ'd all around Europe and everywhere. So for a small part, I was sponsored by Red Bull and I'd DJ at certain locations, and it was brilliant. And I said to him, if I explore that, and he goes, son, let's face it, it's not gonna ever make you a full-time living. He goes, that's helping me on my property journey. And I go, what do you want me to do? I said, you've got a small portfolio. He goes, well, I think we're not doing as great or as good as we could be. Could you help me out and streamline it? And that's exactly what I did. I was looking at his portfolio and we found that the majority of the issues that we had were from working tenants, because he'd structured it where they would pay in arrears as opposed to in advance.
Right. And
what they were doing, they were using it as a stopgap. They would turn up for a month. It wouldn't charge them 1 month's rent up front or a month's rent as a deposit or anything like that. They would live there for a month, pretty much rent free, and then they would disappear.
Bloody hell.
Look at where the issues were, where the pitfalls were. And straight away, I noticed that we had a good clientele. So when we're talking about small portfolio, we're talking roughly around 20 houses. But a lot of those were what we would consider now as HMOs, but we would call them back in the day bedsits.
Yeah.
So literally a room that's got a kitchenette facility in, and then that had to share a bathroom. So that was predominantly the style of stock that we had. And I knew nothing other than growing up in a HMO, because my father again taught me that if you need to learn something, you gotta live it.
Yeah.
And, from a very early age, I'm one of 6 children, so I grew up in quite a decent sized household. But the first house that my father bought, we only lived on the ground floor, and he rented out the rooms on the first floor in order for it to be financially viable for us to live there.
Yeah.
So growing up, I only thought that people who lived on the ground floor of the property and all the other rooms were rented out.
Right.
It's crazy, but that's the reality, unfortunately. So I lived in a HMO as a baby.
Wow.
So going pretty much up until about when I was 9 years old, I think, is when we first moved into our house, and that's when I realised that we could actually utilise a full house, and that was pretty much a family of 8 living on the ground floor of a property. So moving on, looking at his portfolio, I looked at the portfolio, and we decided that now, if we're taking professional tenants, we've got to pay in advance, and we had quite a few benefit tenants as well. And what I actually liked about that was the fact that it was a guaranteed income, and they would pay directly to the landlord as opposed to the tenant. And I loved that method. I thought from a risk point of view, it was very straightforward, and it moved on. And it was a fantastic model.
Yeah.
My father said, for every tenant that moves out now, we're going to replace them with a benefit tenant or a person that's on housing benefits.
I bet he thought you was crazy, didn't he, originally?
He did think he's crazy, because he goes, son, these are a bit more challenging. I said, well, no, if you structure it correctly, we can do it where it is pretty much very hands-off, and we're going to get much better. We're going to get a much better rental income. We're going to get a longer standing tenancy. It's going to be a better covenant.
Mm-hmm.
So he said, okay, well, let's run with it, a couple of houses, and let's see how we get on. So slowly but surely, as a professional tenant or working tenant left, we decided to put it with a benefit tenant, and it worked extremely well. And some of the tenants that we put in back then, we've still got today. So we started building up. The voids went down, the bad debt went down, and as a result, over a period of time, I think we've got up to pretty much, let's say, a high 90% benefit tenants, and that works really well. And then 2008 came along, so between the year 2000 and 2008, that was working extremely well. That was coming in every 4 weeks from the council without fail. We'd get a schedule to see who had been paid, how much had been paid, and the period that had been paid for. And it was literally a case of, other than any minor maintenance issues, there wasn't a lot to manage. So as a result, that took me on to, after I streamlined that, I became bored again. And I said, well, I can't do this. I can't just wait. I didn't want to sit on my hands for 4 weeks and wait for every 4 weeks on a Monday to see a schedule. I wanted something to stimulate me. After all, I was still a young gentleman.
Yeah.
So I started to my dad, and I said, well, why, now that we've done that, shall we start looking at other ways that we can start making some money with some property? He goes, well, okay, what we're going to do now? And he goes, well, how about if I can buy and sell properties? He goes, okay. I said, but I don't want any help with it. And I said, when I say I don't want any help, I don't want any financial help. He goes, well, how are you going to buy a house? All I need initially is probably a bit of capital to start marketing. And when we say marketing, we're not talking massive amounts of money. We're talking a couple of £100 here.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to advertise in the back of the paper. So I was one of the first people in the West Midlands, or especially in Wolverhampton. There's a newspaper called the Express and Star. I did a credit card style advert where I advertised for 6 nights a week, because it didn't come out on Sundays. And we advertise, do you want to sell your house? We can buy your house for cash, rent it out, pay your legal fees, do a deal within 7 days, as you usually do.
Mm-hmm.
And we were one of the first people to start doing that in the back of the paper. And we were getting a good level of responses, and the aim was very simple: to negotiate a discount and then get the option on it and put it into the auction and sell it for hopefully a lot more than what we've got the option on. So let's just use an example.
Yeah.
If the house was worth £100,000, we'd negotiate it at circa between 70 and 75,000. We'd put it in the auction for circa a guide of 75 to 80,000, with the reserve being circa around 80 grand.
Mm-hmm.
And then it would go to the room. The completion date would be set at pretty much the same kind of completion date as the auction sale.
Right.
So literally, we were doing deals with none of our own money.
Yeah, it's clever, very clever.
So in that respect, and we were doing fantastically well at that, negotiating the discount. The seller knew what we were doing, so we would get them, because obviously they would have to know that the property was going to be entered into an auction. They knew that they had to accommodate us with viewings. So literally, I was a middleman between the original seller and the auction house. The auction would then look after the buyer. I would load into the contract a load of fees to ensure that A, I wasn't going to lose out, B, all my legal costs were covered, C, that everything the contract. And we were finding lots of properties that were dilapidated, lots of properties that had mine shaft issues around the Black Country. We've got lots of mining areas, so lots of properties are blighted with mine shafts, which means that they're unmortgageable.
Mm-hmm.
These kind of style of properties were perfect for auction stock.
Yeah.
And that we can get it cheap enough.
So why do you think the people didn't auction them themselves?
The honest answer is they probably hadn't thought about it, and the fact is that we've managed to package it up extremely well.
Yeah.
And as a result, there's no risk to them. You know, from my point of view, the risk was £500 per property, which was the listing fee. But I would get that back on a successful sale anyway. If the property didn't sell, the second option would be that we'd then try and sell it out to our investor database, which we didn't have a vast database back then.
Yeah, it's grown now.
It's grown massively now, but as a result, you know, it's we would shift, I would say, a good 90% of the properties. Yeah, there were the odd few that didn't sell in the auction and we couldn't sell to our investors. They're the ones that we had to unfortunately go back and let down the vendors, saying we've either got to renegotiate or we've got to say, sorry, we can't help on this scenario. Because the last thing that you want to do is take on something that's going to lose you money, especially, you know, being a very young, early 20-year-old lad. The last thing I want to do is buy something and get stuck with it at that stage.
Yeah.
So we're doing that. So we were trading with none of our own money. We're literally negotiating. We were putting it into auction. We were selling. The completion dates were all lined up. The solicitors, if you want to call it, you know, there's lots of ways of calling it. You can call it flipping. You can call it back-to-back sales. You can call it, you know, it depends on, you can call it sub-sale, depending on who you spoke to and what they thought the strategy was. We had solicitors all lined up, all ready, so the seller would use a solicitor that we allocated them. I would use my solicitor, and then the auction house, obviously the buyer, they could use whoever they wanted. On the day, if they bought the property, they would exchange with me, which means that I would then exchange with my buyer. So let's say that I negotiated 70. If the house was worth 70, the house was worth 100, and we negotiated 70. I'd put it in the auction for circa 75 to 80, hopefully with the reserve being at 80. We sold it for 80 plus. Let's say that we sold it for 85. The buyer would now pay me 10%, which was £8,500,
Mm-hmm.
and pay the seller 7,000, which is 10% of the 70,000. And on completion, because the buyers bought it off me for 85, I would collect my 85. I would then pay the seller the 70, and I would make 15 grand plus all the legal costs and all that kind of stuff all covered. So I would walk away from a deal pretty much all ready to go, or, you know, without putting anything into it.
Yeah, that's a great technique. Do you think that's still viable nowadays, Ash? Can you still use that one?
We're still doing it.
Wow.
Still doing it. It's a slightly, the only difficulty is that with auctions, they do take time.
Yeah.
You've got a 3-week marketing period, then you've got a 4-week completion period, and there's a risk that it doesn't sell in the auction. And there's only so many properties that you can do because of the timescale. we developed that one stage further. So we started to build our own investor database. And I think to date, it's well in excess of 100,000 people on that database.
That's brilliant, Ash.
You've got to remember that this has been over a span. As we speak today, I'm 37 years old. When I started my property journey, I was 20. So 17 years, been in the game, 17 years full time. And in that period, I've met hundreds of thousands of property investors, and we've sold thousands of property deals. And I'm still going, and we're still there. So, fast forward right up to 2017 or 2018. In 2017, we did the best part. We did 483 deals.
That's incredible. 483 deals last year.
In 2017.
Wow. Ash, would you mind telling us how much that netted you?
Let's say, without giving an exact number, over a couple of million quid.
Wow, thank you. That's absolutely brilliant, Ash. So you're obviously a property professional and you've got all these techniques, and I know you do a mentorship. So tell us a little bit about that as well.
Before we go on to the mentorship, the one thing I would say, I'm not one of these people that like to do a hard sell, and one thing that I do is that I like to teach people my craft. But when I say my craft, I believe I'm very specific and not special in a sense, but I'd rather tell people what they can do and how they can do it. I'm not one of the, I used to run workshops, and I used to get people, 70 or 80 people in a room at a time. You can do this, you can do that. I've taken it a look. I've moved away from that slightly because I like to do a bit more one-on-one, because I find that you get a lot better results.
Yeah.
I believe anyway that there's no such thing as one model fits all anymore. I can speak to two completely different people with two completely different skill sets, and if I sent them to the same property, they would come out with two completely different methods for that property. Yeah. And I suppose, one of the key things that I teach nowadays is the sourcing techniques. So it's the techniques that they utilize, that they go to appraise properties. And the reason why I teach, as opposed to teach rent to rent, as opposed to teach HMO, which I still do on a one-to-one basis, but if someone came to me and said, Arsh, if I want to start today, what should I start with? I would always say to them, you should start to look at your sourcing techniques first, because once you understand what you're looking at in a property, you can then take that property down whatever method you want.
Yes.
So let's say if you look at a property and let's say it's a 4-bed house. To one person, it might be a 4-bed single let. To another person, it might be a 4-bed HMO. To another person, it might be a 6-bed HMO. To another person, it might be an 8-bedroom service accommodation unit. To another person, it has development potential to be converted into flats. To one person, it's only worth bricks and mortar value. To another person, it's worth a commercial value. To another person, it has potential for development value. So how do you value that property and that style of property? Well, the answer is there's no one answer. And if you understand the sorting techniques and if you understand the valuing techniques, that is where the benefit is, because I believe that today the real value is how to add value to any kind of scenario, whether that be property or whether that be negotiating, etc.
This is the interesting thing, Ash. And so you teach these techniques to people, I take it, because obviously you've got the mentorship.
Yeah. So I run a group called the Elite Property Tribe. So if you Google the Elite Property Tribe, or go to the website elitepropertytribe.co.uk. This is where I teach people how to source properties, how to look at properties, how to look at property in a different way or in a different method. And as a result, you'll understand how I managed to get through 483 deals. Now, 483 deals, I didn't actually visit 483 properties. It'd be impossible to do that. You could say that I perfected the sourcing technique so that I don't physically have to view the property. I look at it from an external point of view, or if you want to call it remotely. I have a look floor plan is, I have a look at the style and the layout of the property, and then I'm able to look at what it can become from a point of view and how we can value it on that basis. Cosmetically, I don't care how the property looks. I'm interested in whether the property is structurally sound or if there's any structural issues, but that can all come out in the wash through the process anyway.
Yeah.
So you can have surveys done, etc., etc. So just because a vendor says it's structurally sound, I never believe what a vendor says. They're literally there to sell the property.
Yeah.
They're literally there to want to do a deal, and as a result, it moves forward, and everyone, as a result, it moves forward, and the owner has sold the property. The sourcer has successfully sourced another property or sold another property, and the buyer has successfully purchased another great deal. So there's lots and lots of things. Well, I make it sound too easy. To an effect, it is actually easy, but what it does require, it requires patience, especially if you're starting out, and it requires some grit and determination, because not everyone that you're going to speak to is going to say yes to you straight away. And that includes me. 18 years on, I'm still not getting 100% yeses, but with 483 deals under my belt last year, you can say that.
You're quite happy with it?
Yeah, well, I'm quite happy, and I'm also a little bit unhappy with it because I feel like we should have got to 500.
Yeah.
The aim was 500, 483 was a bloody good attempt. And so that this year, the aim is to get to 500, and it is definitely doable.
It's incredible, Ash. Well done to you. So along the way of building things up, I know you're a family man, and I also know you like to keep fit of recent. So what made you change on the fitness regime?
That's an interesting one, Andy, because I've got a lovely wife who has given me two very beautiful young daughters. So my eldest daughter turned 5 this week. My youngest daughter is 3. So my wife said to me after we had kids, and once they got to a certain age, perhaps we should start doing some fitness stuff together, which is more so time for me and her to bond in the evening when the kids, as you can appreciate, when you've got young kids, they take over your life.
Yeah,
they do your life, and pretty much it is pretty much a mini rat race. You wake up in the morning, you've got to get them ready. So we've got a bit of a schedule where I look after the kids in the morning. I wake them up, I do their breakfast, I get them washed, I get them brush their teeth, get them ready into their school clothes, and then my wife will drop them to school. And when they come back from school, my wife will get them ready for bed. I'll do the bath time and bedtime stories. So we've got a bit of a routine. But then in the evening, I want to make sure that me and my wife, we still have some form of life. What she said last year, 2017, she says to me, I suppose we should put ourselves up for a bit of a challenge. And she goes, shall we apply for the London Marathon? Yeah, I said, fine. And so 1st January 2017, I think it was, New Year's resolution. I said, well, we'll put our name down for the London Marathon. Let's see. And let's see, hopefully we both get in. Now, bear in mind that this was her suggestion. And she goes, if I get in, you're still going to have to run it with me anyway, because I'm going to need you to train with me. I said, fine, got no problem with that. And I was hoping that she would get in. I got the email, I think it was in October 2017, I got the email saying, well done, you're in. I thought, oh my good God. And I said to my wife, I said, did you receive an email today? She goes, no. I logged onto the Virgin website, and it says, you got in. Unfortunately, your wife did not get in.
Oh.
And I said to her, what shall I do? Shall I defer it? She goes, no, you're going to run it now. I said, well, hang on. This was your idea. But yet now Muggings here has to go and run 26 miles, which meant from October to April, which was pretty much a 6-month, literally Tuesday nights, Thursday nights, Saturday mornings and Sunday mornings, I pretty much ran around 40 miles a week.
That's good going, Ash.
So yeah, starting from no running to that, and in I think it was 22nd of April of 2018, I did the London Marathon.
Would you mind me asking how quick you did it in?
Well, my training suggested I should have been able to do it under the 4-hour mark.
Really, that's good.
My aim was 4 hours. My training suggested I should have done it circa around 3:40 to 3:45.
Wow.
Unfortunately, the heat got the better of me on London Marathon. It's the hottest marathon on record. Hottest London Marathon on record, and I did it in 4:30. So I was about 45 minutes off pace, which is, I beat myself up about it, admittedly, for the best part of 2 weeks after, thinking I should have done better. I could have done better. But the honest answer is that my body couldn't cool down quick enough. For the first 10 miles, I was running, I think, under 8-minute miles. I was running at under 8-minute miles, and my body was literally overheating and it couldn't cool down. I was drinking loads of water, trying to have the cold showers. It just wasn't cooling down. And as a result, I had to slow down. And that's where it slowed me down massively. Otherwise, I would have easily done 3.5 to 3 hours 30 to 3 hours 40.
That's really good going.
I was tracking my time. I was really on point. So, so even after the marathon, I've still kept running. I still run Tuesday and Thursday nights. I run Saturday and sometimes Sunday mornings, depending. So I do 8 miles on a Tuesday, and I treat that as like an efforts class where we do sprint sessions, uphill sessions. Thursday nights about for 8 to 10 mile run. So I did that last night, and then Saturday mornings I do the park run. And I had a bit of a run on, so we do around 7 miles there. And then on Sunday, depending on if a group's running, I'll do on average between 12 and 15 miles.
That's good going.
Still kept it up. I'm enjoying it. I've put my wife and myself in for the London Marathon this year for 2019 again.
You can get your own back this time, can't you?
Yeah, so if she gets in, I will still run it with her, because she'll want that. If she doesn't get in and I get in again, I won't run. Or alternatively, I'll do a charity space or something. But I'm enjoying it. I've also put my name up for Kilimanjaro in March 2019.
So a pal of mine done that, and he suffered with altitude sickness. So try not to do that one too quick, Ash, because that was his problem. He was a marathon runner as well, and thought he could get it done really quick, and that was his problem. He suffered from altitude sickness while he was there by going so high so quickly. Yeah,
well, I'm going up with a group, so in that respect, I think we'll be determined when having a read up on it.
Yeah,
I think you just got to have a good level of fitness. Don't worry about time, etc. I'm not going there for a time or anything like that. I'm going there just to complete it. I'm always looking for a bit of a challenge. I suppose that also comes back down to me in property as well. Now, where are we today? I've got a business that consists of 13 property companies, and all of them do something slightly different. So I'm a franchisor of a letting agency called Rent Me Now. I've still got the family portfolio, I've got my own property portfolio. So I think, off memory now, we're hitting circa around 1,100 tenants, slightly over.
That's incredible, Ash.
So what else? We've got a property payment platform called Tasker Payment Services. We've got a portal called DSS Smooth. We've got the property trading company. We're about to launch a new bit of software, which I can't talk about yet because it's not live. But that will be launching hopefully in October of 2018. So there's always something to do. I'm still running training, property training, the mentorship schemes. And I enjoy the mentorship schemes probably the most, just purely because the satisfaction that you get from seeing people succeed. I've got 2 very young 18-year-old guys in my mentorship, guys called Kazim and Michael. And they're 18 years old. And so far this year, they've traded 20 properties. They started in June 2018.
That's brilliant.
In August 2018. So within the space of 10 weeks, they've traded 20 properties.
Absolutely brilliant. Well done, Arsh, and well done to them as well.
So it's phenomenal watching the success, and that's what I thrive off. I thrive off seeing people literally taking property, taking the knowledge and taking action with it, because learning about it is one thing, actually implementing it for me is something completely different. And that's where I like to see people. And I keep saying to them, talking about it is one thing, you've got to go out and do it. And going back to my ethos and going back to my upbringing, you have to do it in order to see results. So, yeah, it's an interesting one. Do I get a chance to sit down? I still don't like sitting down. My wife, I've got a goal where I'm aiming to retire at the age of my 45th birthday, which is the 12th of 2025. I've set all my goals so that I retire on my birthday on the day I turn 45. I've structured all my loans and everything in my company so that I can do that. So I'm completely financially and debt-free on the 12th of November.
Yeah, you've got a lot of repayment mortgages, haven't you? So that they're all paying down. So that's a good technique.
That's the technique that I employed back in 2008. I structured all my loans so that they're all on capital repayment, so that regardless of what the market does, I'm in a position where I can actually say that if the market goes up, I'm just going to benefit from capital growth and equity. If the market declines, I'm still going to be in equity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure.
A lot of people are still on interest-only mortgages, and they are literally, unfortunately, I say that they're playing a little bit dangerously, because no one can tell what's going to happen with the property market, and 2008 being a prime example of that.
Yeah.
You know, I got burned, as my book says, boom, bust, and back again. 2008, one of the property companies that I was involved with was a development company, and that nearly went, well, we had to put that into administration in 2008 as a result, which nearly lost approximately £8 million worth of personal wealth as a result of it, and nearly caused me to go bust.
Wow.
The result, had to fight my way back. So that's a completely different story alone, and that's where we went into development, building blocks of apartments and new build homes, and at any one point we were building approximately 200 homes. So whether that be apartments or housing sites, and that's a completely different model to everything that I've been aware that I've been involved in, because the property trading and all the other stuff is stuff that you get paid up front and you don't need to worry about, in essence, cash flow, because you've been paid from day one.
Yeah.
With investment or with property development, it's a different ball game completely, because you buy the site first, which means that you're spending money on the site, then you're in the site, which means that you're spending money on the site. You only get paid at the very last stage. So your profit is released to you at the last stage, because when you sell the properties, the first people that want their money back is the bank. People that want their money is the builders and all the other tradespeople that you've paid or probably got on credit, and the last person that gets paid is you. And it generally is the last few units on a development, which is the profit in the job.
Yeah, it is an incredible way of thinking about the different
style. The units are sold. Yeah, it is. So in that respect, if someone, I get approached with people saying, "Oh, I've got a property invest, I've got a property development site. Do you want to get involved?" And I generally say to people, "Unfortunately, it's not for me. Yeah. I've seen that side of it, and it's not a side that I like. It's very cash intense. It's very time intense, and you can never really relax whilst you're property developing." Because until that actual site has sold and it's 100% sold, you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
We were building on 20% margins. So let's say that a site, a gross development value was £1 million. Our profit in that site would have been approximately £200,000, but we wouldn't see that literally until day the the very end of the job. However, in 2007, 2008, when the market started to crash, developers or valuers were downvaluing our stock by 30%, which means that we were actually losing 10% for every property we sold.
That's crazy. Yeah. Wow.
So in that respect, there's a lot. When people say that they're going into property development, I always say you've got to look at it very carefully, because you are going to need a lot of cash reserves. You have to have a lot of patience. There's no guarantee that your stock is going to sell, as great as it may be. And it's a case of whether you think you're going to build it and sell it within a year. You've got a budget for 2 years, on whether you can survive for 2 years with no cash flow, unless you have other cash flow models.
Yeah, I get you. Totally different style from some of the other ways of property investing.
So there's lots of ways of thinking about it. Now, my main model is that I make sure that we're paid first. In the sourcing and the trading stuff that we do, we're always paid first.
Yeah. So, Ash, tragically, you lost your dad not too long ago. And I know he obviously helped you along the way and mentored you. But who else helped you along the way?
Yeah. So my father, God bless him, is my best friend, my soulmate, my mentor, my business partner. He's the first person that, other than my wife, he's the first person that I'd speak to in the morning. Be one of the last people that I spoke to every day. And so losing him to cancer in 2015 was a massive shock. The way that we lost him was also quite tragic, because we lost him within the space of 3 weeks from the diagnosis to actually burying him. So from the moment they told him that he'd been diagnosed with cancer, and then they reckoned that he had, easily 12 to 24 months. What I didn't prepare for, knowing that 3 weeks later I was going to be saying bye to him and burying him. That was a tough time.
Yeah.
Other than that, who else have I taken strength from? The other really is my mother, because on the rental side, whilst my dad was at the engineering company, it was my mom that was looking after the tenants and taking the calls and dealing with the properties during the 9 to 5, and then my father would take over from 5 till 8 or 5 till 9 in the evening. So I haven't really sourced any external help. I have a business partner in all the stuff that I do, who's my brother, who's been on exactly the same journey as me. So, very engaged. He would be at the engineering company, and then helping with the properties. So, other than that, I haven't been. To be honest, if you're asking me, have I been on it? Have I got any mentors? Have I got any? Have I been on any property training schemes? The answer is no. I've learned along the way.
Yeah.
I've learned along the way. If I've heard about something, I'll think, well, let's try it with one. Let's see how that gets on. We'll take a calculated risk on that. So I like reading stuff. I get a little bit envious when I read stuff on Facebook, seeing lots of people doing lots of great things, and that only pushes me wanting to do more. My wife said to me, "How much more can you do? 500 deals, 483 deals last year. You're mentoring 177 people. You've got a portfolio worth X million pounds. You've got a letting, you've got a multi-office letting agency. You're doing this, you're doing that. You wrote a best-selling book. You're still speaking on the speaking circuit. How much time have you actually got? I'm still writing for 2 very well-known publications, Your Property Network and the HMO magazine, as well as interviewed for certain podcasts and certain publications." She goes, how much more do you actually want to do? And the honest answer to that is, I'm still hungry. I see lots of people do lots of great things on social media, and that spurs me on to think, I could do more. At the moment, my work-life balance is quite well. So I do 9 till 5, Monday to Friday. I try not to work weekends. My wife admittedly gets a little bit annoyed when I take calls on weekends. I try to limit that so that I get lots of quality time with our children. And that's a bit of a challenge, admittedly, because if it's up to me, I'd take every call and I'd try and help everyone. And she goes, at some point, you've got to switch off. And that's my biggest, probably downfall, is the ability to switch off, because the cogs are always turning. You know, it's not uncommon for me to jump out of bed at 2 o'clock in the morning if I've had an idea and I need to write it down, or I need to somewhere. So she always says to me, if you've got an idea, write it down before you forget it. So there's lots going on. The cogs are always turning, and my biggest downfall is the ability to switch off. Am I going to be able to retire at the age of 45? Financially, yes, as everything's already in place. Mentally, God knows.
That's a totally different thing, isn't it, I suppose?
It is. Indeed. So, because she'll say, you'll find something else to do. And she goes, maybe you should go into lecturing or go into college, or, you know, inspire the youth of entrepreneurism. And that's something that might help, that I might do. But I say to my wife, I take every day as it comes. I put my best foot forward. I try and help. I give her good advice as and where I can. And I try and help everyone.
So those 2 young lads you were talking about earlier that you helped, is there anybody else that you've helped that's actually changed their life?
Oh, there's so many people that I've helped that I've gone from literally starting with nothing and gone on to financial freedom, gone on to great success.
Yeah. Tell us about 1 or 2 of those, Ash.
Where do we begin? So I've got this father and son team, guys called Martin and Elliot Webb. They came to me when they were in full-time. Martin was full-time employment in a job that he hated. Elliot was in sixth form, and Elliot decided that he wasn't going to go on to further education. And I started mentoring them, and they've gone from absolutely nothing. They wanted to initially explore the rent-to-rent option. We've got them a couple of rent-to-rent properties, and they decided that they didn't want to become full-time landlords, or they didn't want to become landlords or property managers. We changed their strategy, and then they decided they liked the thought of developments. Even though I was very against developments, I could see that they had something in them. And off the back of that, they've now gone on to, we've got a pipeline of development deals at the moment, and we've structured the finance extremely carefully so that they don't fall into the same pitfalls that I went through back in 2007 and 8. I've got, a pipeline of best part of £3 million worth of deals.
That's brilliant. Changed their life.
Completely changed their life. And they've got Martin left his job. Elliot is now full-time, and it is a true father and son story. And I'll tell you what you could do if you wanted to. You could see their journey on the Elite Property Tribe actual website. So go to www.elitepropertytribe.co.uk, and it's got a snapshot of about 6 or 7 different people who do great things, and all within a few minutes, a few-minute video. So that's something that someone could watch if they're interested.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Ash, thanks for telling us all about your story, the incredible journey you've been on, and how successful you've been. Is there any particular way you want people to contact you if they'd like to get in touch with you and look at your services?
Yeah, always happy for anyone to give me a call or have a chat. The best way of finding out where to contact me is by going to my website, which is www.arshilahi.com. And on my website, I actually give my personal mobile number out, because I'm happy to talk to anyone and everyone about how I can help or how I can push you along on your journey. So if you like the thought of that, go to my website, arshilahi.com, and I'll be happy to have a chat.
Ash, thanks very much for coming on the show.
No problem. Thank you very much for your time, Andy. And more importantly, thank you very much for inviting me.
If you like this kind of information that we're giving you, please tell your friends, share, comment on the show, and give us a review on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts from, and help us to grow the show. Thanks very much.